You're coming to me for my expert opinion. It's a good idea. So, I'm Ryan. I know it's just like 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. for me right now. I work overnight pretty much. So, I got home, got some food, and we're going to discuss this because I want to get my opinion out before the week starts fully. Congratulations to BYU. Good job, good win. You beat West Virginia by 14. You're at home. Should do it. Took care of business. Congratulations. They did not cover, though, on the betting line. So if you bet for them to cover, sorry. But this is an interesting college football week, in my opinion, because this could be a really big setup week for other big matchups later on. But we have two big matchups still within it, just not like we had last week. Last week was just enormous. This week can build to bigger weeks later down the line. But there's some matchups we'll bring up later on that we'll talk about that are substantially big right now. And I think there's some teams that are very much overrated. I think there's teams that are very much underrated that we got to talk about, and we will be talking about this video. By the way, last week, for all the people in college football that was saying LSU is really good, I came out here and said they're the most overrated team in the country, and they just lost because of what I said. They can't run the ball, and their offense is not good enough to win games, and their defense hasn't been tested well enough, and that's exactly what happened. Just to let you know, I'm not stupid. But I did explain how Bama would win. I just didn't expect Georgia to do what they did. Georgia dropped. Okay, a little bit off topic here. I didn't really want Georgia to win as a Vol fan, and was like, SEC comparison. If they lose two games and we just lose one, we're better. They lose three, they lose. You know what I'm talking about. But like, you let up 13 points that you just did not. You had 13 points you could have got and didn't get. Two field goal opportunities and two red zone opportunities and a drop touchdown. How do you do that? How? And then you have the other big game. Penn State just blows it. We'll talk about them a little bit today. So let's just get into this. You know what? Number 14 ranked Iowa State versus Cincinnati. Some people are calling upset opportunity here. Cincinnati, in my opinion, will not win. So Iowa State will. I know, great analysis. 22, Illinois plays at Purdue. Until Purdue wins a game against the Big Ten, I will not pick them to win a game at all. Just in general. They could play the Helen Keller School of the Blind. I'm probably going to pick them to win. They can feel their way better around than Purdue can. They can't score. They can't do a lot of great things. They're better than last year. They just can't do a lot. So I get Illinois. Kentucky at Georgia. Substantially, there's a big thing you can look at the past 6 years and say Kentucky plays a lot better against Georgia than they really should, but they just don't win. 4 of the last 6 games they've played against them, they've held Georgia to 21 or less. I believe that will not be the case this game. I believe Georgia will get the 24-28 mark and hold Kentucky to like 6. So 28-6 is my score prediction for the game. They get Calzada back. Calzada's not good. He has terrible body language. And I like the other guy more for Kentucky. The guy that they have right now, who's like a freshman, keep him in. He's more of a playmaker. And you can at least build him up. Calzada's a 7th-year senior and has some of the worst clock management you can find. Yeah, he's living off of one game against Alabama that he beat with A&M. Living off one game. You can't do that. That was 4 years ago. Bryce Young was on that team. That was his Heisman year. Georgia did not win a national title at that point for 40 years when that game happened. They've now won 2 and have lost 2. And have not made it back in the 2 years since then. Pretty much just telling you, Zach Calzada's washed. Wisconsin and Michigan. By the way, these are all noon games for Eastern time. Michigan, I don't know how to feel about them. I feel like whenever we get a substantial, like a sample size of them, it's like iffy. It's like Raiola did go for 300 yards, but didn't really feel like it. Michigan made the big plays. Justice Haynes can break out big runs. They're better than Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not that good. They just play easier teams. I got Michigan winning this one. Bryce Underwood has high potential. We just got to see how they develop and how they can actually build up a deep aerial attack. They seem to never do it, but even like with Harbaugh, like that group that won the title, Roman Wilson was making plays. down the field. He was a valuable threat. They don't really have that. Justice Haynes is making their big plays as a running back off of counters or inside zones, like the powers. It's a different style, but it's working. Like, I can't, like, it's working. The only team they lost to is Oklahoma, and they have probably the best defensive front in the South. So, yeah. Virginia plays against Louisville. This has upset written all over it. Virginia just not getting ranked. Balled out completely against Florida State. Did show that they can't attack deep. Did show some weaknesses. Louisville coming off a nice comeback victory against Pitt at Pitt. I got Louisville winning this one. Kind of an upset. Not really. I think they're about the same type of team. Miller Moss, different styles, but like similar rating. At Louisville, home field advantage. Just now getting ranked. Probably going to fall out. This is a classic situation. We had this last year of Georgia Tech, whatever. They won and then made it and then lost to Syracuse. Very similar. I got Louisville winning. Number 9, Texas goes down to Florida. Two teams have been very disappointing offensively this year. Both of them are surprisingly disappointing. These are arguably the two best quarterbacks heading into the year by a lot of people's opinions. Kind of mine. I did not want to play up against Lagway. Now I can't wait to play against him. He sucks. Lagway is terrible. Lagway cannot throw the ball past 5 yards. They don't trust him to throw the ball past 5 yards. But there was one thing that was kind of interesting that you can tell about Florida. Their O-line did try a lot more in the second half against Miami and did get some movement. Problem is, that quarterback can't throw. So, there's really not... Okay. There's not a lot of belief up front, in my opinion. If I was a blocker, and that's my quarterback, he can get killed all day because these balls are going to thrown right to the defense, even if we give him time. So let me just get back on the bench. So, you got that. Their defense is very good for Florida. It's at Florida. I think they're going to cause some takeaways for Arch. I really do think they will. Because Arch's not played a good defense in a month. And he's still... Okay, we talk about he's looking more comfortable. I know Cole Cuba talking about he's looking more comfortable. Yeah, but... Sam Houston, I think, just got beat by 28. Like, are we talking... What are we talking about? He's just not... If we're talking about comfortability, you know, like, oh, they played Texas. Like, if they played, like, TCU, and you look comfortable. Different story. TCU is a better team. We're talking about bad teams. These are not good teams. These are cupcake teams. And they've not played a good team in a month. So what do you know what works? What do you know what doesn't work? And that was the problem I had with Texas. Like, if you lose that first game, and your first game back, really, in a month, is Florida, it's not easy. They have a really good defense. Problem is, I think they have enough playmakers that they can get over it. This game's not going to be high scoring at all. I got the score being probably like 17-7. Give me Texas, but this will not be pretty. You should not want to watch this game unless if Florida somehow wins and we can laugh in Texas's face. Anyways, this is what you should be watching is Vanderbilt, 16th ranked in the country, playing at number 10th ranked Alabama. And I'm going to make this prediction here a week later, from right now. Vanderbilt has, in a way, bit over... Okay. Bama's going to win. Let me get that point out. Bama will win this game. I say by 17. The problem with this, for Vanderbilt, they've not played a substantially good offense, and then you're getting stuck with a guy like Ty Simpson who's very surgical. Your defense will probably need to make turnovers. That's how you won last year. You had a pick 6, and you had a forced turnover when they were driving when they're only down by 2. People forget that. Bama had the chance to take the lead, but they fumbled. Millwall fumbled that. So, you look, not really Mill's fault, they just let him through, but like, Simpson does not do that. He's not shown that tendency ever in any game he's ever played, even against Georgia at Georgia. If he doesn't do it then, I doubt he does it here. And I really doubt Vandy has the athletes to go across the field to stop Bernard and Williams. Williams not as much. Bernard mainly. And Jam Miller, see how he uses it. I mean, they let up 35 last week to a team that's nowhere close Bama's like abilities. And we look at South Carolina game. South Carolina's not a good offense. They beat good against Kentucky, but they struggled heavily against Virginia Tech to move the ball. And also they didn't have to deal with Sellers for an entire second half. Vandy has a bit overrated of a defense, Their offense, I think, is the real deal. Their defense, I question a ton. And Pavia, uh, you're talking a lot. You got to back it up right now. And I know that game, South Carolina, you were talking about, that was a big game. Yeah. And then South Carolina proceeded to lose another game, and they just looked terrible. Not terrible. They don't look that great. They could change it around, though. They have enough time, but they have a really tough schedule, so it's going to be kind of tough to do. Vanderbilt, defensively, is not impressing me. Offensively, they are. Problem for them is that Bama got the deal with Florida State. And that's a very similar type of offense, with a little more sneaky plays, and the deal of last year's type of team. They're going to have to physically beat Bama up front. They're going to really have to. And if they do that, then okay. But everyone has you on alert right now. I just don't see an alerted Bama team with the front they had against Georgia not showing up at home. I just don't see that. I believe we're going to look at Bama. I don't think they're substantially great. I believe they have a questionable second half offense. Very questionable second half offense. They start off very hot and very much work their way down. People forget, Bama didn't score in the second half, and they only scored 7 against Florida State. Like, what are we doing? They didn't score 10 against Wisconsin either, but they're up by 30 at that point. It really didn't matter. Not going to judge that. They don't do great in second halves offensively. And that showed last year, too. They were not a great second half team. They got to show consistency in the second half. I'm interested if they're going to do that. They got to. I think they will, especially defensively. I got them win this game, probably like 35 to like 20, around that area. I think they're going to win. But they will not win against Missouri. And that might sound ludicrous. They're going to lose next week, Bama will, against Missouri. Because it's going to be big win against Georgia, riding high that wave against Vandy, and then 2 weeks from now, we got to get a revenge against Tennessee and look at their high-powered offense. And you're going to completely forget about Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pebuta and Eli Drinkwitz up in Missouri, who is a very tough place to play at, very underrated. Eli Drinkwitz is one of the most, I'd say the most underrated coach in the entire country. No one talks about him, even in the SEC. We talk about DeBoer, Kirby, Heupel, Sarkisian, Kelly. If Eli Drinkwitz was down at LSU, they would have not lost against Ole Miss. No disrespect to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's a very good head coach. Mike Elko with them at A&M, great head coach. But if you give Eli Drinkwitz those teams, they're not losing. They're not. He has brought Missouri from the bottom of the SEC. Them and Vanderbilt were very similar level, just a little bit above, up to the high relevance and SEC championship caliber. And no one's going to talk about it. Their defense at times is a bit sketchy, but they've overall had a very good offense. Best running back in the country right now. An elite quarterback at Bo Pebuta, and you're going to see that happen. They're going to be overlooking Missouri somehow, and they're going to somehow get an early lead on Bama, and they're not going to know what to do. Missouri gets very loud, and you don't understand it. You just don't. You know, people overlook Missouri because they're not a Southern team. I grew up with them in the SEC. I understand their powers. They're very good. I watch with my own eyes. Do you remember when Georgia was that second title team? Probably the best of the two teams. Arguably the best team in the history of Georgia program. The 2022 championship team. They steamrolled pretty much everyone that year. Even our offense. Even Tennessee's offense. That was elite in the regular season. They almost lost to an unranked Missouri team at Missouri. And Eli Drinkwitz, I believe, his first year there. He plays great in big games. And I know I'm getting off topic from this week, but I'm just telling you. Missouri plays great in big games. They've not always had the talent to do so. I believe this year they will do it. Last year, Brady Cook was hurt half the year. It was pretty much hurt the entire time. Never got a consistent run game. They had no hope. And they were still competitive in a lot of games that they really shouldn't have been. They were one game away. If they beat South Carolina, they probably could have been in the playoff. They would have been 10-2 with a South Carolina win that was riding high. It would have looked really good, maybe better than Miami and maybe better than someone else, like an SMU. We would have had a conversation, though. Would have been interesting. But anyways, that's my prediction for next week. I think they're going to win. That might sound stupid, but I really do think they will. And if I come here and they're wrong, I'm sorry. But next up, Boise versus Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame in that one. Not a big surprise. I don't think there's a lot of upset right here. I know Boise State's looked a bit better. No, not enough. Not enough. Penn State versus UCLA. Penn State looked good enough to win, but you had 3 points for the first 3 quarters. You cannot complain about what happens if that's what you do for the first 3 quarters. You got to win that. And Drew Allar does not look great. Bo Pebuta has looked really good. And right now, you could argue Drew Allar has worse stats than Iko Iamaleava. That's pretty bad. And we'll see what happens here. I just don't think that they have really much of a chance. UCLA, they're 0-4. They look terrible. Penn State's going to roll. Kent State versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to win. Interested to see how they're going to look about. They have Michael Hawkins back there. And without John Mateer, we'll see what happens. Get ready for the Red River rivalry. See if he comes back there. Be kind of surprised. Upset territory here. Moving to 7 o'clock. Texas Tech at Houston. Connor Wingman. Not bad. Seemed to found a system pretty well at Houston. Close win against Oregon State. Almost lost that one, but they held on. Texas Tech's going to win this game. I believe they were going to win by double digits. I don't know how many. Could be 13, could be 30. I think Texas Tech's going to win and avoid the upset in this one. Could be close heading into the 4th, but then they will push back like how they did against Utah. And they have the quarterback back. Big help. Mississippi State at A&M. Interesting game. Mississippi State proved to be a very valuable team. Hard-nosed team last week against Tennessee. Very impressed by what they did. Just enough plays made by... And Tennessee were going to pull away. They've been there enough. They know what they're doing. Mississippi State doesn't yet. And neither does A&M in a way. Neither does A&M. This game's going to be closer. I really do think A&M might be the... I don't want to call them the best team in the SEC, but if there was a big game, I might throw A&M in there, and I wouldn't pick them over. I think I might pick A&M right now to win a big game in the SEC over any other team, in my opinion. I know. Right now, Mateer's not healthy, and Ole Miss I don't fully trust yet. A&M's won on the road in a hostile environment, in a desperation team situation. That's tough. That's really tough to do. At Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's not a bad team, though. You're proving it right now. They just murdered the hell out of Arkansas. Sorry, Sam Pittman. Come to Tennessee and teach our O-line to do stuff. You're probably going to go back to Georgia or somewhere else. He's a really good guy. And I think he's a good coordinator or a good coach. Probably just good O-line coach. Arkansas is going to be Arkansas. They're cursed. It's not his fault. But Notre Dame looks pretty good. And I think A&M's going to ball out. I believe they have like this real fiery thing that they've not had in a while. And it's just when one side needs to win, they're going to. Whenever the other side needs to win, they're going to too. They win their matchups. They're doing a pretty good job. And people look at Auburn games like, oh, it's a 6-point game. They had 1 turnover, made a difference. They almost shut them out. 0 for 13 on 3rd down they held them to. I like that. That's going to help out a ton for them. If you can stop the outside runs that Mississippi State just ran through us last week with, you will beat them down. You will beat them down. Because the big plays are going to be there. As long as there's no BS, no PI calls, it's 4:30. Damn it. So, yeah, my opinion. I got A&M winning. I'd say about 13, 14, right about where the betting line is right now. Minnesota against Ohio State. Ohio State, I believe, is the best team in the country. They're going to win. And then we have Florida State versus Miami. Oh, lots to deal with there. It's at Florida State. That crowd is insane, especially at night. I believe the physicality battle will be won by Miami. I just don't trust Carson Beck a ton with the new receivers. This crowd can get to you, man. This crowd got the Bama. You got to start off well and hold it defensively. Offensively, you can have some struggles. Defensively, you to be stagnant, and I believe they can. They've not played a good offense. I mean, they've played some good offenses. They played USF, and they've played Notre Dame. They played Florida. They just ridiculed them, the life out of them. It was insane. Florida State runs a weird offense, and if anyone's going to be able to score on Miami, it's going to be Gus Malzahn. The dude's balled out against Nick Saban level defenses. He can probably find something against Mario Cristobal that he likes. I believe Florida State's going to get 27 points. Probably the most Miami's going to allow for the rest of the year. Will be giving up this game. But I do believe they will find weaknesses in the Florida State team. Mainly the run game. Virginia ran right through them. Like, if you cut them to the outside, they just ran them through. And Florida State could have had a third overtime if they just catch the ball. How do you bobble it 8 different times? I don't know. But I believe that's a big impact. I got Miami winning this game. Probably a little bit higher scoring than people are going to say it is. I got the score being 35-27. I think it's going to be a lot more high scoring. I believe Gus Malzahn will find ways to score. But there'll be too many times they will get inside the red zone or inside the 30 and get stopped. And I don't think Miami's going to get stopped a lot of times once they get down there because of their physicality. I got Miami winning this game. So, big games. I got Bama winning. I got Miami winning. I got Texas winning. So, like, I got all those. You heard them. Yeah, this is like 4:30. I need some sleep. We'll see what happens. Have a great day, y'all. God bless y'all. And go Vols. We're on a bye week, but college basketball's about to start up soon. Yay!